Now, a good theologian is not only a person who can raise the dead and heal the sick, because there is the case of Judas, who went out with another disciple and raised the dead and healed the sick. So you must also check their teaching. But since there are many theologians who've written many books, you possibly could not live a life long enough to read all their books. It is one way to cull out the nonsense from the good stuff. And if you read only those theologians who have got a fairly good claim to raise the dead and heal the sick, then you know that you're in the vicinity of somebody who knows of the power available in the realm of the Spirit. Then you have to decide whether the realm of the Spirit in which they deal is of the devil or of God. At the moment, we're accepting almost anybody who writes a book or publishes a paper or sets himself up, declaring right at the start he doesn't believe in God, doesn't care a fig for God, and is then preaching, basically, that other people should not believe in God. Now you have the case of Christopher Hitchens, for instance, who has got a famously cynical and hard attitude against God, but he can't raise the dead or heal the sick, and he's not even able to convert his brother to his ungodly preaching, because his brother is a Christian and a reasonably good believer, as I understand it. So check these things out. How does it run on the ground? How does it play out? How does atheism or a society without God work and operate out there in political reality? Have there been societies who have attempted to run themselves without God? You have to consider the communist utopia and their hatred of God, their bulldozing of churches, and their program of atheism. They at the point of a gun, you were required not to believe in God. Now this, whether it's conducted by the Catholic Church on the side of believing basically in the Pope and the Catholic system, or in not believing in God, believing in atheism and some other social system, which since has proven not to work, those things are wrong, evil and wicked by any measure you care to run against them. We cannot recommend that way of proceeding in regard to converting people by the sword, by torture, by concentration camps. You either freely believe or it simply doesn't count. And forcing somebody out of their belief by fire or branding, or that doesn't count either. I don't think a person who writes a document or says a word under torture is counted by God as having freely chosen to do that. So if somebody writes on the paper, "I do not believe in God," at the point of a gun, do you think God is going to hold that against that person? Now obviously a person who resists that and at the point of a gun says, "No, I'm not even going to do that," and bang, they die, well, God will reward that one more. But a person who is coerced into, a few words on paper, I mean, are you really happy with a person who's converted in that manner? Would you ever really trust them if you were the Pope or if you were Joseph Stalin? I'm sorry, but you could never trust a person that only adhered to your group, whoever and whatever you are, at the point of a gun. That's ludicrous. I'd probably, if I was so minded as an evil Pope or Joseph Stalin, I'd probably say, well, he signed that he loves Joseph Stalin, but take him out and shoot him anyway, because that's precisely the kind of thing they did. They knew very well that the coerced adherence of believers in the true cause, whether it was Catholicism or communism, doesn't count. They even did that to their genuine followers. So there are no guarantees. But I don't think God regards that, he doesn't regard it well. He's not going to reward you for cowardice, if you like. But he's not going to say, oh, you're now a believer of the devil. It's almost a sensible thing to do in a way. The unusual thing is to exhibit courage where courage is not otherwise seemingly, apparently necessary. And that should be rewarded. Everybody admires the nobility of that. All I'm saying is, I'm not saying to you that I am a man of that kind of courage. I may be in the situation. I do not know. All I know in the meantime, when I have free will, opportunity and chance to worship and love God, I often take it and often enjoy it. That's all I can say. And we want to know that of a good theologian. We want to know that when the man shuts the door and puts his pen down and he isn't trying to impress anybody, that he really does honour and worship God. And we know the very walk of a man like that, his very stance before the assembly of other people, his very hands, the holy hands, lift up holy hands to God, his very manner of address, the words, his look, the light in his face, all kinds of things he will not do, and even when he's compromised, as people often are, he withdraws and behaves around it with the appropriate level of embarrassment and shame and sorrow and so on. That he's not a brazen, wicked person. So I think we can tell a genuine, sincere and holy person, and we need to have that kind of person as our bishops, as our overseers, as our leaders, and a person who makes way for others, who really is a servant, and who isn't just always wanting to do all the talking. Because theology that is full of talk, as our local liberal, non-believing in God theologian says, it's just God talk. Indeed it is. And if that man was able to raise the dead and heal the sick, and then say that he didn't believe, well, it would be interesting. I still wouldn't necessarily follow him. You see what I mean? It's the combination